I wonder what you think then of the DOJ coming out last week and saying to Facebook, we know you have these encryption plans for WhatsApp and some of your other, products that you're rolling out, but please slow down on rolling them out until we can figure out some sort of security mechanism, some sort of backdoor in case we legally need to obtain information about people. Where do you fall in that debate? Is that the right way to be thinking about it?
I think rather than having sort of a piecemeal debate about specific things, in this case about encryption or security, I think more broadly we need to actually take a step back and look at, do we need a set of principles enshrined in law about how, whether it's in America or more broadly in the Western world, how we want to treat the internet and how we want to, what rights should you have as a user of the internet, rather than piecemealing it, which is currently what's happening.
You talked about the roots in military contracting, and I think that's a key point as well. We talk a lot about, on this show, about the idea of the weaponization of information and of data. Does that really represent where modern warfare is going? And if it is the U.S. not paying close enough attention to it? Yeah,
one of the things that I talk about in the book is that the U.S. military has such a big budget that it tends to focus on, it's run by generals who are boys with toys. They like things that blow up, right? But when you look at modern security threats, at the time when I was working at Cambridge Analytica, ISIS was just emerging. When you look at radicalization around the world, an organization like ISIS recruits online, organizes online, disseminates its, hateful ideology online, as does Russia, as does lots of other countries. And so when we're looking at national security, I think we also need to understand that that's not just things that explode, right? What happened in 2016 was an attack. I talk about it in the book. I talk about Cambridge Analytica's role in that. And, just because things didn't blow up doesn't mean that there aren't serious harms that were done to the democratic institutions of the United States and more broadly how society functions moving forward.
Two things. One is Facebook's throwing a ton of money at the problem, they say, so much that it's become an issue for the stock over time. The other is that we got through the midterms. Do you think we got through the midterms safely? And why is that not a good report card going into a general?
So here's what I'd say to that. We are blindly trusting a company when they say we're putting in lots of resources, right? I say, what is that?
Well,
what is that?
They do filings every quarter that explain.
But more fundamentally, we do not allow private companies, for example, to manage, border security, right? There's an agency that does that. We do not allow private companies, to run issues of either national security or more fundamentally, like what's happening in our political and civic discourse.
So you're not encouraged by FCC, state AGs, DOJ, Congress, all of these set of eyeballs?
I'm encouraged that there's more scrutiny, but having been, a lead witness in many investigations of this company, I can say that, these are agencies that are not, it is not a fair fight, right? They are not staffed well enough to handle, emerging problems that are happening online, and they aren't experts. The idea is that it's the FTC and the SEC that is the only, are the only agencies that are effectively trying to rein in these companies to protect our democracy, I think is kind of ridiculous. Like, why do we not have an expert regulator that is able to do this?
The government that seems to be the best right now at setting a framework and sort of reining in behavior online is China. So how does the United States walk that line between protecting the democracy and the safety of people and yet not becoming so heavy-handed that the rule of law as it exists in the United States gets violated?
Well, the thing that I'd say is that the United States is walking in the same direction as China. We're just allowing private companies to monitor us left, right, and center. Just because it's not the state doesn't mean that, there isn't harmful impacts that could come if you have one or two very large companies monitoring and tracking everything that you do.
So does Facebook need to be broken up?
When we look at big things like electricity or water or public roads, we don't talk about breaking up, a water utility or an electrical company. We regulate it and put consumer safety first. And so, whether or not we should break up Facebook, I'm sort of, either way on that. But what I do think is that we do need regulations in the same way that certain industries that have become so important because of their vital importance to business and people's lives and the nature of their scale, we put in place rules that put consumers first. You can still make a profit, you can still make money, but you have to consider the rights and safety of people.
There's that debate's going on right now with vaping, for example, but your point's broadly well taken. And you're banned from Facebook and Insta.
After I came out as a whistleblower and started working with the authorities, I got banned on Facebook and also Instagram. And I still am. Because this is what happens when you have a company that does not have to follow due process. If you have somebody who comes out and criticizes it, they can just eviscerate you, from their platform. And you don't have any rights in that situation. And I sort of question, should we be trusting a company like this who bans whistleblowers who are working with the authorities about wrongdoing that's happening on our platform, and try to shut down what they're saying?